this team, if they get an even share of possession and it's a dry track, they just can't hold us. Should only have 2 referees who tic-tac and swap over in the bunker to have consistent eyes.
Yeah.
And we need someone, an ex-player or a coach who understands, and the one for me is Brian Smith.
Yeah. Hello and welcome to Immortal Behaviour for another week. Thanks to our mates at Tab, and before Beanie for Brain Cancer Round, Joey, you're already supporting it, looking good.
Mike Hughes made a call, got the weather freezing. It's the only time you can wear one inside, not look like one of those hipster knobheads.
I feel like we do nail it every year. It's freezing.
Oh, it's freezing, yeah. I think they've sold out online. Only place you can get them at the game and IGA and Target came.
Yeah, there's a few randomly floating around, but online they've done really well this year.
So get out and support. I think it was Mark's raised over $35 million. He said he won't stop till he finds a cure. So Mark Hughes, well done, and all the volunteers, Chris Medeiros, Kira Lee Hughes, and all the volunteers. I'm probably missing people out, but
plenty. It's a special round for the Calendar family, one of our great friends as well, isn't it?
Yeah, we lost Matt Calendar. I think he initiated the Beanie for Brain Cancer along with Mark Hughes. And his daughter works with us, Maddie Calendar. Absolute champion.
We love you, Mads.
Great family.
Great job, guys. Doing very well. All right, let's move on to the footy. Round 17, which is wild, but there's been a fair bit of conversation in and around player movement this week in the NRL. So the first one to have a little bit of a chat about, Zac de Belin. Big news floating around about him, given how old he is. He's 34 years old.
Yep.
And there's been whispers that he's on the move. Are you surprised about that?
Signed the deal, so has that been announced?
Oh, has it officially?
Yeah,
it has officially been announced now. There you go.
Well, Jack missed a bit of footy, so that can extend your career. But I see him from the outside in. He seems pretty fit. There's no real injuries. Looks like the Dragons, St George Illawarra, are clearing the decks to go for a big signing. So whoever that is, I don't know. But he'd be a good pickup for a year or two. Trains hard, really good guy. One of those real tough players, gets through his work.
He's still, when he's playing, he still has that impact, getting over the advantage line and generally ruffling feathers when he gets in contact. He's still got that in his game. Given that he's 34, you think short contract is okay, but the impact's there.
I'm just top of my head, I'm thinking about the middles for Parramatta.
Eels.
Junior Bilo's there. Other than Junior, I think they've got pretty youngish middles and forward packs, so he'll be a good example, how he prepares, how he trains. I think it's a good buy short term. But I think it looks like St George Illawarra might be clearing the decks for a big signing, or to chase a big signing.
Yeah, they look like they want it, that's for sure. But also, what does the experience of someone like Zac de Belin add to the Eels? Obviously, Junior Bolo's there, but how can they, and do you just manage his minutes a little bit to make sure his impact's crucial?
Yeah, I think so. Well, the way he prepares, I saw him in State of Origin, the way he prepares physically and mentally. He's a real pro, really good fella. Sort of bloke you really need around the traps, and you've got those senior players and they're cracking the whip. That's what you need. So Jack won't cop any BS. If someone's not training or pulling their weight, he'll give them a spray. So good signing. What
about Selwyn Cobbo at the moment? He's probably not in his best form. There was probably a time where he was $1 million player. What's your assessment on him?
It's a really tough one because we can see the potential. We've seen him when he plays. When he's on, he's nearly unstoppable. I think this stage of his career, he's a winger, maybe a centre, here and there, a little bit of fullback, but I don't see him as a week in, week out fullback. Look, we can see the potential. He's a freakish talent, but you hear stories that Selwyn gets really homesick, and he's from Cherbourg, which is 4 hours inland from Brisbane, same place as Steve Renouf. And I've heard Steve Renouf talk about when he first moved to Brisbane, how difficult it was, and Wayne Bennett would let him go home. So I don't know. It's a tough one for Selwyn because if you believe what you hear, he really misses home. He gets homesick. So it's a long way to Cherbourg from Perth or Melbourne or Wollongong.
There's been whispers of the Dragons as well, hasn't there?
I just hope I hope he can nail it because So much potential.
So you say that you think he's probably a winger or a centre. Is that because of his fitness playing at fullback, or do you just think where his game at? Like, what parts of his game do you think are the positives, and how do you think that Selwyn Cobbo can improve his game?
He's very quiet.
Yep.
He's very quiet. And at fullback, you have to organise your defence. If you watch the top line fullbacks, they never shut up, and they're moving the forwards, and when the forwards come back, they're pointing where to go. At this stage of his career, I don't think Selwyn has that voice, that dominant voice. But whoever signs him, it's a delicate one how you manage Selwyn. And look, there's been no better than Wayne Bennett. The way he manages, especially the Indigenous boys. Latrell, for instance, lets Latrell go back to the farm, and there's that trust. You know, Wayne trusts Latrell trusts Wayne. So whoever gets Selwyn, I think it's a good buy if you can get him really focused. But it's going to need some cuddles.
Is that where you think he'll end up with Wayne Bennett, or do they have the room?
Well, it'd suit there because Latrell would really mentor. They've got some Indigenous boys all through that club or that back line. Cody,
Jack Whiten,
Latrell. Yeah, they've got some Indigenous boys there, which would help. It helps Selwyn. I think that'd be a good fit, probably the best fit.
Even just having that sense of family and community, and if he's far away, you're saying if he gets homesick, just to have that connection there would be important.
It's so difficult to get homesick and moving away from home, and you need that stability of your family. So fingers crossed for Selwyn, he gets that sorted out because he's such a talent. Such a talent.
Did you ever get homesick?
I get homesick all the time.
Do you?
I hate it. Yeah. I
Do
hate
you?
being away from home. Yeah.
Like when you were playing from mum and dad, or you more so mean now?
No, not mum and dad.
Which parts of home did you miss if it's not mum and dad?
I just like being in my home environment.
Your own pillow.
Yeah, own pillow.
The pillow's popped up again.
The pillow.
Tallyn de Silva, the Tigers have announced that he's free to speak to other teams. Were you surprised by this? Because obviously they've got Appy, who's age-wise getting on a little bit. Did that one surprise you? Yeah, he's 32. It
does surprise, but unless you're in the four walls there at the Tigers, you don't know what's going on, what Tallyn's attitude is or whatever. But I think he'd be a really good pickup. Lightning quick at a dummy half. Probably the most shaped eyebrows in the competition. The eyebrows are perfect. There's another one.
When you're speaking about footballers' attributes, it's probably...
Elu is the same. The boys must get their...
Little slugs.
What are they called? Get them waxed or something? Perfect.
If they're that perfect, they might get threading. Does Kate get threading?
I don't know what that means. But
it's hectic.
Once again, from the outside looking in, you don't know what's going on, but he looks a talent. Looks a real talent.
Yeah. So also...
Again, he's best mates with Lockie Galvin. So whether he's looking to go with the Dogs, there's talk that the Dogs want to move Reid Marnie in, and then...
Hold on a second.
Yeah.
Breaking news. If the journos pick that up, you'll be in some strife.
Yeah. Mr. Exclusive here.
Is there also the part of the conversation that we don't necessarily know who's coming through at the Tigers? They might have younger players in the system.
Young guns coming through.
Benji's got a great eye for footballers as well, doesn't he? So
those Finey brothers, she's a good player.
They're so good.
Samuela. Latu, he impressed me last weekend. Yeah, they might have a younger brother. Imagine growing up next to them playing backyard footy.
I was going to say, how good's knee footy with that?
With a Finey brother. No, I can't come over and play today.
Sorry, I'm busy. I've got homework. Let's stick with the Tigers. Benji Marshall. What do you think of his appointment? Do you think he's there for the short term or the long term?
No, long term. I like what Benji's doing, and I'll watch him close attack-wise. I don't watch defence. Defence, no interest. But I watch what they're doing in attack, and I can see what he's trying to implement. They're a dangerous team. When they get it right, they score tries in clumps. It's just they can be a bit inconsistent when they haven't got the ball. But no, I can see what he's trying to implement, the way they play. They're entertaining to watch. And if they can keep that core players together, I think Latu Fainu needs to be locked in at halfback. Jerome at 6, and then obviously got Jerome Buller, and then you got Appy. It's Appy, pronounced it's now. Pretty good spine.
Would you like to be coached by Benji Marshall?
Yeah, for sure. Great fella, Benji.
He's a good bloke, isn't he?
He's all out attack. No good defence.
Well, he sees the short side on it. He plays the numbers game better than anyone from his background in touch footy.
He was so good to watch. When he burst onto the scene, one of his first games was against Newcastle, and it was after an Origin, and they sat myself and Danny Baduris out. And the coach just said, don't even come to the game, go and relax. And I remember I was up the coast somewhere, and I was just sitting, and I was going, who is this? And he, Winnie the Pooh, Tigger, he used to bounce on his tail. I was like, this place like Tigger off Winnie the Pooh. He's just jumping around, he carved us up. And then he's inspired a whole generation of players. Sean Johnson talks about how Benji was his idol, and he was probably the first one to take the movements and philosophies from touch footy into rugby league. So, yeah, we're very lucky to have him in rugby league, Benji, and I hope he has good success moving forward.
Do you know my first memory of Benji Marshall was when I was a kid playing touch footy, and he'd started his NRL career but obviously came through playing touch footy. And anyway, there was this big state cup championship down at Ferry Meadow down in Wollongong, and he turned up to, they let him drive his car onto the field. It was this, I don't know cars now, never learned back then, but it was this like red sports car. He drove onto the grass. There were just lines of kids, like everyone. Oh, I mean, highly lucky. I've got a photo of him. I can't remember if he was wearing a shirt or not, but he had he had tight clothes on. He was standing next to his red sports car, and the kids were just lining up to get a photo with him. It's so good. He's a little bit different now these days, now that he's got a wife and kids. But yeah, no, great Blake, and he's always given back to the sports that he's loved, which is the important message. Last one, Toby Sexton. He is off contract, and there are no clubs that have necessarily put their hand up to show strong interest in signing Toby Sexton. That. Is it wild?
Yeah, I can't believe that, because there's not many quality halves going around. I watched Toby closely when he was at the Titans, and I always thought there was a player there. And once again, it's, for whatever reason, some take longer to develop, and I think he's really found his form at the Bulldogs. But it looks like they're looking to go Galvin, Burton, and those players, so you might have to move on. I'm just trying to think at the top of my head. Look, I think the Dragons would be a good fit, because I understand their lower grades have won 8 in a row. Lockenillis is playing well, and the young guy of Glover.
Yeah.
But I think he's moving on to another club. Maybe the Dragons, the top of my head.
Is there a place for him to play 14 or at least hold one of those?
No, he's at 7.
7 out now.
He's out now at 7.
Right.
Perth, PNG.
But then that's still...
It's 2 years
27
Whether he
at
goes
the
to
earliest.
Super League for a year, gets over there and plays there.
What would that experience do for his game?
Well, you look at Jackson Hastings, you look at Brodie Croft.
Yep.
They went over. They won Men of Steel, like the equivalent to our Dally M. It's good footy over there. Less pressure. They don't scrutinise as much as you are in the NRL. That might be an option for Toby. But he'll be signed. He's too good a player not to be signed.
There is actually one more. The Sharkies haven't looked up Will Kennedy, which is wild, because he's so far up on the Dally M leaderboard. Like, he's playing some pretty good footy.
So below him you got Cade Dykes, who tore his ACL and came back and smashed his patella.
He's struggled with injuries, hasn't he? He's got so much promise, but we haven't seen enough from Cade.
Cade's got to look at Billy Smith from the Roosters, who pretty much didn't play for 2-3 years. Stick at it, mate.
Yeah.
And there's a young guy called Ison. I think I don't know his first name. There's huge raps for him. But I think he's also out with an ACL. Whether they're putting faith in those two young guys coming through, I don't know off the top of my head who else is, if they got another one there. But he's a quality player, Wayne Kennedy. Turnaround from him at Perth. They beat, I'm going to say, Manly in Perth. He shot the lights out. Ever since then, his confidence has gone through.
He's definitely a confidence player.
Really good player.
Too good to not be re-signed, surely.
100%.
All right, it is now time for our Tab Big Call of the Week. I know you love this one, Joey, and you were so close last week.
Oh, Jed Stewart, first try scorer.
Can we just change that to any time?
Any time. My big call this week is Storm 13 plus into the over the points. I think there'll be plenty of points. They're playing the Sharks down there, who aren't travelling that crash hot. Start of the year, the Storm played a couple of games during the day. I think one may have been against the Eels. The other one I can't think off the top of my head. They put on 50 odd. So
clinic.
Yeah. Storm 13 plus, and I think there'll be plenty of points.
Looking forward to that. When the Storm are on, they're good to watch, aren't they?
They've been on consistently, which is a worry for the competition. Because come the big games, Munster, Harry, Jerome Hughes, Pappenhausen.
I love watching Pappy play.
They'll go to a whole new level.
Yeah.
So for mine, they're the standout to win it this year. If they're healthy at the end of the year, I just think they win.
When do you think we see the take-off from them after Origin? Do we let them have a week or
There's
two?
There's always that flat period after Origin for about a month, and then you can see the semi-finals and it starts warming up. Well, not in Melbourne. Yeah. I reckon about a month out from the semis you'll see them ramp it up.
Well, we've got 11 weeks to go, which is exciting. All right, so Gus has been brought into a committee,
yes.
which is wild, but the NRL are looking at the salary cap and they want to have different opinions and trusted voices in and around rugby league to have their say on how they can manage the salary cap. So our mate Gus Gould has been brought on to that committee to have those discussions. Best of luck to everyone else.
He won't just go with the flow. You know, Gus is as honest as they come. He doesn't care whose nose he puts out, whatever he thinks.
They would have known that.
Yeah, well, that's what you need. You need someone to speak the truth and have strong opinions and strong debate and go from there.
Smart to bring Gus Gould into that picture.
He's a genius. I think he's the most influential person in rugby league's history. He was a really good player, became a great coach, and now he's a phenomenal administrator. Turns clubs around. And they were a basket case, the Dogs, before they got there. They're in the top 4. They win a comp the next couple of years. I don't think they can win it this year, but within 2-3 years there's competition there.
It's pretty remarkable, isn't it?
I think it's a great decision.
If you were brought in to that committee to look at the salary cap and make changes, what would you change?
Local juniors. Dispensation for local juniors. But then makes it probably unfair on others, but Penrith, Newcastle, even the South Coast with the Dragons, they've got those local juniors coming through. If you develop a player from the age of 14, 15, put him through schooling, coach him up, ready to be an NRL player, and they get there. The perfect example is Isaiah Katoa, who we know is just once in a lifetime player, not once in a generation. He went through his schooling. I think Penrith put him through his schooling, one of those private schools out at Hornsby, Barker College. Is that one of the schools out there? Anyway. And now he's left, and there's no compensation for him. Stephen Crichton developed, Jerome Luai, another one. So I'd love to see dispensation for local juniors, and the other one is long-term players. If a player's been in the NRL at one club for 10 years, I think there should be some dispensation for them. Because obviously you need to bring the next generation through and give them more, but give them amount of money that they deserve. Like Josh Papali'i, he's made it known he wants to stay at Canberra maybe for another year or two, but the way it is, those young players coming through, it just wouldn't look right with him in another jersey. I remember Glenn Stewart left Manly and went to South. It just didn't look right. Jack de Belin's another one.
Well, and also we're talking about, was it last week that we were talking about Tommy Turbo? And hopefully they don't have to, but
Reynolds.
Yeah, Reynolds is a great one.
Reynolds is another one.
Yeah.
Anyway, there'll be some juicy conversations.
There are plenty of committees at the NRL. If you could sit on any of them, which one would you like to sit on?
I'd like to talk to the referees about some things in the game.
Play this safe. About what?
I'd like to break down the block play, where you don't just look at the attacking plays, you got to understand defensive movements. And I got to applaud the one on the weekend when Nico took a dive.
Yeah.
You know, for the last 5 years that would have been a penalty, but they used discretion and it was the correct call. So I'd like to break it down and what the lead runner's trying to do, the back row, where's he's going to start, the starting point for the fullback coming around, and talk about defensive movements, because it all revolves around back row and the halves defend. You can show them spacing and where those spacing should be, because some of the smart ones, the halves get that tight to their back row that you cannot find space. Anyway, that one, putting the ball down, not at super slow motion. Anyway, two players competing for the ball, show it in real time. You know what? If it flicks someone's pinky,
who cares? The ref one. You could do that. Surely you can tee up with the NRL if it truly means that much it means that much to the game, but you personally. Surely we can have some kind of a conversation, get it done in a course. It doesn't have to be
No, it's
once
half,
a week,
it's
you know,
half an
it's
hour.
just
I can't
exactly,
stay in a room for longer than
exactly.
half
That's what I was trying to get at. Your attention's not going to, yeah, we might be nearly done now, but surely we can make that happen.
We'll see.
We know the benefits of having a player or an ex-player in the bunker and having that footy knowledge. Like the footy knowledge is crucial.
We should only have 2 referees who tic-tac and swap over in the bunker to have consistent eyes.
Yeah.
And we need someone, an ex-player or a coach who understands, and the one for me is Brian Smith.
Yeah.
I don't know what Brian's doing at the moment, but he was a great educator, and he would understand defensive movements and what the lead runner's trying to do. Anyway.
Make it happen.
Yeah.
Surely. All right, thanks to Ampol. Let's take a look at the Power Surge podium from the last round of footy. Now, you guys at home, you got to vote, so here's how it stacked up. At number 3 was KO Weeks, his try saver. How cool was that?
Geez, they've got some good young players coming through, and defensive coaches. I've actually spoke to Craig Fitzgibbon, and he said he gets more enjoyment out of players stopping tries than scoring, which is, can't believe that. It saved the try, and in the end won them the game because they only won by 2 points.
It was insane, wasn't it?
It was a great one from Joseph Tarpany too in that game. So, well done.
All right, coming in at second, Brodie Jones, his buzzer beater.
Yep.
That was a big moment too.
That was a big moment in Perth. But Brodie's is a Cessnock lad up where I'm from. He's been in and around the club since he's been 14, 15, 16. He's tic-tac between playing on an edge, but now he's gone to the middle. He's put a bit of size on Brodie. And he's one of those late developers who's lacked confidence, but he seems to have found himself and feels like he belongs in there. It was a great effort because he was offside and he ended up getting back on side and then chased and scored. So, and smart, he's coming down, he kept that arm off the ground. So well done, Brodie. Big win for the Knights. Go back my big call. I think they can beat Canberra.
Really?
Yeah. I think they can beat Canberra up there. Beanie round. Big crowd.
Well, it's a great time to do it given that everyone's got to be there in the crowd. It means a lot to the club.
If Fletcher Sharp was playing, I would declare him pretty much morals. I thought last week Canberra's second half was really poor
Yeah, it
against
was.
the Tigers. 16-0 up at half time, and then the Raiders didn't score another try in the second half. I think the Knights can get them.
That's wild.
Yep.
All right, number 1 for our Ampol Power Surge podium was AJ Alex Johnson. He's on the hunt for Irvine's record. What a weapon. How good that they re-signed him too.
Yeah.
Isn't that great?
So good. When he had that Achilles injury last year or the year before, I thought, oh, he's not going to make it, but he'll make it. Latrell. Running off Latrell.
Helps. Certainly helps.
I could see him score some tries if he, maybe not. But not only Latrell, there was a try on the weekend where even before Latrell got the ball, when he got at the traffic, just went bang, bang. But AJ was leading for him on running towards the corner post. Psst, the ball was there, and then I think it was far longer. He was like looking at Latrell, then next thing AJ scores. It's like, wow.
Yeah, so quick.
What a great player.
Wild.
Yeah, Bunnies Jr., long-term player.
Well done to the club.
Keep him in there,
yeah. All right, we've got a couple of scraps left from Origin that we need to cover before we wrap things up, because somehow we haven't spoken about everything in the lead up to this week. But Reece Walsh at the moment got a little bit of form. He's showing some good parts to his game again, and given how Queensland, they just won.
Last try when Shibasaki scored, where he still didn't look 100%. I don't know whether the strapping's really tight. He had that black strapping on his right knee. His gait didn't look like he's still quick, but he's not lightning.
Do you think he's doing enough to be in the Origin squad for Game 3?
No.
You don't?
No. And Kalen last week in Perth.
Yep.
I thought with Bradman Best coming back, it sparked Kalen a little bit. Kalen put 2 tries in for Bradman for kicks. I think he'll have a massive game Friday night against the Raiders, KP. But no. He's in good form, Reece, but no, they won't be changing.
So you saw enough from Kalen in Game 2? They found him a little bit more ball too. Even Harry Grant having that bit of extra space around the ruck, he looked dangerous. Even if he didn't get it, he's still...
The conditions didn't suit him.
Nah.
Like playing on an ice skating rink. But he scares me, Kalen. Scares me whenever he gets the ball still. But no, he'll be there. Game 3.
Some of the New South Wales forwards have a little bit of pressure on them at the moment. Is there room for Loz to bring in maybe a Terrell May or I know we're both fans of Keon Kolomatangi. in the
80
squad
minutes last week.
Yeah.
Well, I thought Keon, I was quite strong on him playing in game 2. I just think with his footwork and his fitness, that's nice. He had a bad injury and came back early. I think he needs to be in the conversation. Whether he comes in for Stefano, I don't know, but I think he'd be in the conversation. He's such a good player. And since he's lost all that weight and gone from an edge in the middle, he just looks a different player. Quality player.
Well, his fitness for Origin would be important too, wouldn't it? That'd be a big factor.
Play big minutes.
Yeah.
Play big minutes.
Yeah. What about Laurie Daly? He's obviously been involved in deciders before. It's huge. It's a whole other game. Do you think his experience will help him approach this one?
Well, he's not looking out there and seeing Slater, Smith,
that helps.
Thurston, Cronk, Inglis. Goes on and on and on.
So what is he seeing?
Well, he's seeing if on paper, our team is the better team on paper. And look, game 2, we know what happened with the penalty count. 26-6 at half time.
Yep.
We missed some goals in the end, which may have cost us, whatever. But we were such a better team. This team, if they get an even share of possession and it's a dry track, they just can't hold us. They just can't hold us. This is an unbelievable. If we can work out how to get the more ball to our edges earlier, on the left to Latrell and Angus, and on the right to Liam and Steve McCrighton, they just can't hold us. We've got so much strike. So let's hope no injuries. Leading into Origin 3, we get a fast track. The penalty count is pretty similar.
Surely we've spoken about it enough for it to pan out the right way.
Who knows? Let's see.
So what if it is horrendous conditions? What if it's wet, windy, rainy, and...
Well, then we need Nathan there because of his game management. We need his kicking. Look, I think tonight's game is so important for New South Wales game 3, because if Nathan is not kicking for goal, for me it shows that this groin is a lot worse than what we think, or maybe pretty serious. Because as a goal kicker, you're not giving up kicking. No way in the world, especially if it's a big game in a full house, you want to kick. And I know the player and the mentality Nathan is, maybe that was the reason game 1 he didn't kick that well. Because one of his last kicks, he pretty much missed it from by 10, 15 metres. You never see that.
Do you think even if he doesn't kick, so tonight's game, Dogs, Panthers, if he doesn't kick tonight, is it maybe potentially because they are saving it and hopefully we see him at Origin?
No.
You don't think so? You don't think they would be worried about...
Game 2, he didn't kick.
Yep.
So the best kick chasers in the game are Liam Martin, Stephen Crichton, in particular Liam Martin. We hardly kicked to that side, so that took them out of play. Stephen Crichton had 4 hit-ups. He had hardly any ball because we weren't kicking that side. Jerome put the first one out on the full. Jerome was kicking down the left side. Latrell even did a couple of kicks.
Yep.
We need Nathan doing 90% of the kicks, which brings our right side kick chase into play. If he's going to play game 3, we need him. I think we need him kicking goals too.
Yeah, well, on the goal kicking, Zac Lomax didn't have his best night at the office for Origin. He kicked 6 from 6 on the weekend for the Eels. But mindset, Origin, the biggest stage, we needed those kicks to be done. So does he just flush it? Does he just put it to bed?
Just get out there and kick.
Yeah, so as the player that, okay, put it to the side and go out and do your job, but mentally, how does he park that to say, I can do that, I've just kicked 6 from 6?
Just get it out of your head. Brian Toe, all our tries have been out wide.
Yeah.
I'd like to know how many tries. And I came up with a bit of a left field idea.
Another one
is we score on the left-hand side, Brian Toe.
Yeah.
Whenever it's from the 10 metres to the sideline, Zac kicks everywhere else. But if we score on the other side of the ground and it's 10 metres or even 20 metres to the sideline, Latrell kicks. Because of the way Latrell gets a bit of a draw on it. Not so much Zac, he hits them pretty straight. Darryl Halligan used to tell me, when he coached me, that if it's a very important kick and your adrenaline's running, you kick it another 10 metres. So if you get a natural draw on it, when your adrenaline's running, you pretty much hit them straight as an arrow. The best example of that was the grand final Broncos Cowboys. Cole Felt scores right in the corner. Jonathan Thurston stands up. J2 used to get that big draw on it. He hit it that flush. It didn't bend. Hit the post. What was Rabs's?
It's a good reminder.
Oh, it's a nightmare. But there's an example. When your adrenaline's up and the game's on the line, if you're going to kick, straight as an arrow. So I just think if it's on the other side, favours the left footer, Latrell stands up, and Latrell's mentality, there's going to be 85,000 there. He
loves it.
He'll think he's in the park at Taree. He'll drain it down the middle.
Well, he delivers in those big moments, doesn't he?
Yeah, he just loves the big moments.
In Origin, in the boys' camp at the moment, or when they go back into camp, do they have a kicking coach with them, or is this on the onus of like the club's kicking and kicking coaching?
I don't know if Zac's got a coach. I don't know if Nathan has.
Like who can control these conversations?
Nathan's got that style. Jimmy Maloney had that style where they get their head down and they kick right through the ball. Jimmy Maloney wouldn't even look where the ball finished. He had his head down that much. I don't know who trained him to do that. That's not a Daryl Halligan technique. But they
a golfer, maybe.
They coached the kick and pretty much land on the same foot. So kick with your right foot and land on your right foot. I don't know if Zac falls away a little bit on his kick. Yeah, I don't know if they've got kicking coaches. It'd be interesting to know.
It's creeping up, isn't it? Game 3, can't wait. What about tonight? What excites you about tonight's game? Penrith Bulldogs.
I think everything.
Do you think Gus will be nervous? Or is he all doggies?
I don't know. You wouldn't know. Be a big crowd. Well, Penrith have played there this year, their home games, and they haven't had huge crowds. I think it'll be 60% dogs, maybe even more, 70% dogs. So even though it's a home ground advantage, for Penrith, it'll sound like the Bulldogs. So car park's going to be locked down for probably about half an hour after the game.
Might have to have something in the car to help speed that 30 minutes up.
Some lollipops.
Exactly right. Chopper chops, that's what I meant.
Chopper chops.
All right, guys. Well, enjoy the footy this round. Thank you, Joey. We'll see you again next week.